On your mark. Get set for today's arc. Fear and Loathing on Striga. Number 350522 by Frederick Svanberg. I'm your host, Bubba Wheat. This arc is part of a series of arcs that Fred created as a supplement to the in-game villain epic archetype arcs. This one is set for the level 20 to 30 range, and takes villains somewhere they had never been before until they could go rogue at least. Striga Isle. My contact today is Ernesto Hest, commonly known for the hero task force that he gives out on Striga, culminating in an epic battle around a giant mech man. As it turns out, Hess is actually working for Arachnos, and after the heroes left the council defeated, and the mech about to be destroyed inside the volcano, well, it wasn't. And now he calls me in to acquire the technology for Arachnos' own purposes. Unfortunately, things don't work out quite as planned, as a group of Sky Raiders heard about this secret base and decided on their own to try and clean it up for a profit. After some aggressive negotiations, they agreed to help keep an eye on the scientists for me while I went to check out this blabbermouth. And I'd just like to point out that this is a bit tricky. On one hand, the decision to work with the Sky Raiders was made by my character without being told to by my contact. On the other hand, the decision is made by my character, but not by me as a player. In this case, it worked for me, and I liked it. It's tough to have an independent villain who's always taking orders from their contacts and never making decisions for themselves. Anyway, this brings me to the second mission at the Mermaid Tavern, which is owned by Stephanie Peebles, another familiar name to heroes who have spent any time in Striga Isle. You don't see her there, but you do see a few random enemy groups there, and one hero, Stalwart, from the Paragon Heroes group that you can fight during Mayhem missions and show up more recently in tip missions. He's been bragging about taking out the giant mech man, and we can't let him out without a fight. And while I'm there, I also loot the safe, including an old wedding band, which is another nice nod to the Striga arc. I like this mission. It's short, it's informative, and it has more than one bit of inside humor and information. The third mission brings me to the Bog and an unsteady alliance between the factions in Striga that aren't the Council, and it's my job to break up a meeting between the Sky Raiders, family, and warriors, and to throw in a little chaos that is the banished pantheon for good measure. In doing so, I root out Stephanie Peebles, a part-time witch, apparently with a grudge against me and the power to control the BP zombies. While I like the setup for this mission, it does have the dreaded chained objectives on an outdoor map. The map feels light, so I do think that he placed every mob purposefully, which does help, but it's also the Eden map, with those nooks and crannies in the forest. But in all the times that I've played it so far, it never actually caused me any of a problem. So, take that what you will. The last thing to take care of is the Council's power vacuum here in Striga, and that leads me to Arachnos, or I guess it's pronounced Arakan, and another set of aggressive negotiations. She's holed up with various Nictus bosses, and has recently rooted out some Arachnos spies, who gladly come along with me for the ride. I'm warned in the intro more or less that she is an archvillain / elite boss that you do have to fight. While you do have help in the form of various Council / Arachnos spies, there is an extra wrinkle so the fight isn't a complete pushover. The map also seems to be a good choice as the objectives flowed very linearly and kept things interesting without being obtrusive. And finally, you're on a ferry to get the heck out of Striga Isle for a good long while. Of course, things never go as planned, and Stalwart and his Paragon hero buddies come to crash the party. But once you take care of them, things are smooth sailing. I liked having this mission as a sort of epilogue. Most arcs have the climax in the final mission, which makes sense and it works. But this is a nice change of pace to have the climax in the fourth mission and a sort of epilogue in the final mission where you get to bust up a handful of so-called heroes. This arc won this year's Player's Choice Awards in the Villainous category, and it really shows. I think it's a great supplement to the VEAT arcs, and a really nice Villainous arc in general. There's a lot of references to in-game canon to pick up on, and the difficulty is quite manageable. Until next time, this is Bubba Wheat on your mark.
Can you dig it? It's great fun.